Some men rule with guns. Others rule with the fear of what happens after the gun fires. Tom heard the click of a revolver behind a stable wall, one nervous breath and one shaking finger, and the whole town holding its life in the space between trigger and thunder. "Do it," a man hissed. "End him." Then someone whispered the reason nobody ever did. Last time they tried, half the street burned before dawn. Tom turned and saw the signalmaster in the lamplight, calm as a priest, hands clean, eyes empty. He didn't flinch. He didn't even reach for a weapon. Because he didn't need one. High on the hill, the signal tower blinked once, slow and deliberate, like a heartbeat answering his own. Wren's voice cut low beside Tom. "If he dies," she said, "the night protocol starts." Tom swallowed. "What protocol?" Wren didn't look away from the hill. "The one that locks every exit, opens the wrong gates, and turns this town into a furnace." The nervous gunman's barrel lowered, not out of mercy, out of terror, and the signalmaster finally smiled at Tom, like he'd been waiting for him all along. "Courier," he said softly, "welcome to a town that can't afford my death." Tom kept his face still, but his mind was already moving. A man like this didn't survive on courage. He survived on mechanics and habits. He survived because the town had been trained to fear the consequences more than the cause. Tom took one step forward. "You run the tower," he said. "I keep people alive," the signalmaster replied, smooth as oil. "The difference is important." Wren's fingers tightened around Tom's sleeve, a warning without words, because the street had changed while they spoke. The quiet wasn't empty anymore. It was organized. Men in plain coats stood at corners that didn't make sense for shopkeepers. A wagon had rolled into the lane and stopped in the exact place it could block a clean escape. A lantern on the far porch swung once, twice, then stilled. Signals, confirmations, positions. Tom felt the trap closing with the patience of a contract. The signalmaster tilted his head. "You've been making noise in the wrong towns," he said. "Noise travels. It brings corrections." Wren's eyes flicked to the rooftops. "They're already here," she breathed. Tom saw them then, not as a gang, but as a pattern. Two on the roofline, one behind the well, one walking too slowly near the alley mouth, hand resting on rope, like a man who liked old methods. The signalmaster's smile remained polite. "Hand over what you carried into my valley," he said, "and you walk out before the night protocol ever needs to remember you existed." Tom exhaled through his nose, steady. "You don't want what I carry," he said. "You want what I am." "A courier," the signalmaster agreed. "A moving mouth." Tom's voice dropped. "You've got a switch tied to your life," he said. "But switches aren't magic. They're wires." The signalmaster's eyes sharpened for the first time, a flicker of annoyance. Then it vanished. "Try," he said softly. The tower blinked again, a slow pulse, and the town obeyed. Doors latched, shutters slammed, the street emptied like breath leaving a body. The only people left were the ones who belonged to the system. Wren leaned closer, barely moving her lips. "Tom, if the protocol is real, we can't kill him. We can't even scare him too hard. He'll trigger it." Tom's jaw clenched. "Then we don't touch him," he murmured. "We cut his voice." Wren blinked. "What?" Tom's eyes went to the tower. "He commands because the tower listens," he said. "Make the tower deaf." A crack split the air. A shot not aimed to kill, aimed to start. The bullet slapped the dirt by Tom's boot like a warning. That was the first rule of men who wanted you alive. They shot near you first. Tom moved anyway. He shoved Wren behind a water trough and sprinted toward the narrow lane between the feed store and the barber's, because narrow lanes turned rifles into guesses. Another shot cracked. Wood splintered near his shoulder. Tom didn't fire back yet. He didn't give them the clean satisfaction of a straight duel. He grabbed a hanging sign rope and yanked hard. The sign swung down, slamming into a pursuer's rifle barrel and knocking his aim into the wall. Tom used that half-second to pivot and drive his elbow into the man's throat. The man dropped, gagging. Tom took his rifle. Then Tom did the thing that made him dangerous. He didn't shoot the man on the ground. He shot the lantern above the alley mouth. Glass burst. Flame died. Darkness swallowed the lane. The pursuers hesitated because trained men still hated not seeing what they were about to step into. Wren popped up behind the trough and fired twice, not into bodies, into hinges. A shutter slammed shut on its own and blocked the roof shooter's line. Tom heard rope hiss through air. He ducked, felt it brush his hair. He spun and grabbed the rope with his left hand, yanking the thrower off balance. The man stumbled. Tom didn't pull the rope tighter. He jerked it sideways, wrapping it around a post and trapping the man's arm like a snare. Then he fired once, low, into the ground by the man's boot, making dust explode up into the man's eyes. The man screamed, blind and furious. Tom seized the moment to run again, dragging Wren with him into a back courtyard cluttered with crates. Behind them, the Signalmaster's voice carried through the street, calm as ever. "Don't kill the courier," he called. "Not yet." That "not yet" landed in Tom's chest like a weight. They wanted him alive because alive was useful. Tom's blood went cold with anger. Wren shoved a crate aside and revealed a narrow gap in the fence. "This way," she whispered. "To the hill path." Tom hesitated for one heartbeat. The hill path meant the tower meant the source, and the source meant the switch. He nodded once. They slipped through the gap and into the scrub behind town, where the ground began to climb. Wind hit them harder up here, sharp and dry. The tower rose above the hilltop like a spine, lantern lens glinting. Tom heard hoofbeats below. Not panicked, controlled. The system was adjusting. Wren ran low, using brush as cover. "The tower has a reset," she breathed. "It's mechanical. A wheel, a lever. Every night, same time. Miss it and the protocol starts." Tom kept moving. "So we keep it on time," he said. Wren stared at him. "Tom, if we take the tower, they'll storm it. You'll be fighting and counting seconds at the same time." Tom's voice turned flat. "Then I'll count," he said, "and I'll fight." They reached a rocky cut where the path narrowed. Above them, iron stairs spiraled around the tower's base. A man stepped out from the tower door, not the Signalmaster. A guard, lean, confident, carrying a short shotgun like it was part of his arm. He raised it without speaking. Tom threw his stolen rifle to Wren without looking. "2 shots," Tom said. "Then move." Wren caught it. "What are you doing?" Tom walked forward. The guard's shotgun clicked. Tom didn't draw. He picked up a fist-sized rock from the path and tossed it, not at the guard's head, but at the lantern bracket above the door. Metal rang. The lantern swung. That movement made the guard's eyes flick up for a fraction. Tom closed the distance in that fraction. He slammed his shoulder into the guard's chest, drove him backward into the door frame, and wrenched the shotgun barrel up toward the sky. The shotgun boomed. The blast took a chunk out of the tower's wooden lintel. Tom punched the guard once, hard, in the mouth. The guard's knees dipped. Wren fired once into the guard's knee area, not to destroy the leg, to drop his balance. The guard collapsed with a choke of pain. Tom grabbed the guard by the collar and dragged him away from the door. Wren's eyes were wide. "You're not killing him." Tom's face stayed hard. "I'm not buying blood I don't have to," he said. Then he looked down at the guard who was trying to crawl back toward his shotgun. Tom's voice dropped to a whisper. The wind nearly stole. "Stay down," Tom said. "If you stand up again, I'll make you a problem I can't walk away from." The guard froze. Tom shoved the tower door open. Inside, the air smelled of oil and hot glass. The stairwell curled upward, iron steps narrow, walls lined with lenses and shutters. Above them, light pulsed. The tower blinked again, and Tom felt the whole town below shift like a single animal. Wren's expression tightened. "He's still controlling it," she said. "From somewhere." Tom scanned the wall and saw it. A speaking tube, a brass throat leading down toward town, built so a voice could travel upward and be heard without the speaker being present. Tom understood immediately. The Signalmaster didn't have to stand here to rule the tower. He only had to speak into the tube. Wren swore under her breath. "He's not brave. He's engineered." Tom climbed. The spiral stair tightened. Every step rang. That was the problem. Towers made you loud. Towers made you predictable. Halfway up, the first attacker appeared above, dropping down the inside rail like he'd done it 100 times, knife in hand. Tom didn't back up. He stepped into the attacker's path and drove his forearm into the man's wrist, knocking the knife loose. The knife clattered down the steps, bouncing, spinning like an omen. The attacker tried to hook Tom's throat with his other hand. Tom caught the hand, twisted, and slammed the man into the iron rail. Wren fired from below, the shot cracking into the metal steps right beside the attacker's ear. The man flinched away from the sound. Tom used that flinch. He grabbed the attacker's belt and shoved him toward the stair edge. The man's boot slipped. For one heartbeat, the man hung half over the rail, eyes wide, hands clawing. Tom could have pulled him back. Tom could have saved him. But Tom heard the town below in his head. Half the street burned before dawn. Tom's hand closed on the man's belt, and Tom made the choice that would keep him awake later. He didn't pull. He pushed. The attacker went over the rail. He fell, hitting iron and wood, and vanished into the dark below with a sickening crunch that the tower swallowed like it had swallowed so many things. Wren's breathing hitched. Tom didn't look down. He kept climbing. Because if he stopped to feel it, he'd lose the seconds he needed. The tower lens room opened above them, a cramped platform ringed with shutters, gears, and a heavy lever mounted beside a brass clock face. The reset mechanism. A wheel with notches marked by scratch lines, like someone had counted nights with steel and obsession. Wren stepped in beside Tom, eyes on the clock. "That's the heartbeat," she whispered. "If we miss the turn, the protocol starts." Tom's gaze flicked to the speaking tube outlet on the wall, a round brass mouth that hissed faintly with air movement. He leaned close to it. Down below, the Signalmaster's voice echoed up, calm and pleased. "You're in my house now," the voice said. "Be careful what you break." Tom straightened and spoke into the tube, voice low, controlled. "You can keep the town alive," Tom said. "Or you can keep your control." A pause. Then the Signalmaster's voice drifted up like a smile. "I already chose," it replied. Outside, a whistle blew. 3 short notes. Wren stiffened. "That's a yard command," she said. "They're moving up here." Tom looked at the narrow doorway behind them. They were about to be stormed. In a tower, with a clock ticking toward disaster. Tom felt his pulse harden. He turned to Wren. "When the door opens, don't shoot the first man," he said. Wren blinked. "Why?" Tom's eyes were cold. "Because the first man is bait," he said. "Shoot the second. The second is the one trained to fire back." Wren swallowed and nodded. The tower door below slammed. Boots thundered up the spiral stairs. The first attacker came into view, climbing fast, rifle up. Tom didn't shoot. He stepped to the side and let the man commit. The attacker reached the platform and swung his rifle toward Tom's chest. Wren fired. Not at his chest, at the rifle's wooden forend. The wood exploded. The rifle barrel jerked sideways. The attacker stumbled, shocked, hands suddenly holding splinters. Behind him, the second attacker emerged, pistol already raised. Tom fired once and hit the man's shoulder, dropping the pistol. The third attacker came up with a rope, trying to hook Wren's ankle. Tom stomped on the rope, pinning it to the platform, and yanked hard. The rope dragged the man forward, slamming his face into the iron stair lip. Blood sprayed. Wren's eyes flicked to Tom, and Tom saw something in her expression. Not fear. Recognition. She was seeing the part of Tom that had been growing since Elias died, the part that stopped asking if he was allowed. Tom's gaze snapped to the clock. The reset time was close. He could feel it like pressure in his ribs. He grabbed the lever. Wren grabbed his wrist. "If you pull that wrong—" "I know," Tom said. He didn't know. Not fully. But he knew something else. He knew the Signalmaster expected him to hesitate. Tom pulled the lever halfway. The tower blink pattern changed. Down below, a shout rose from the town. Then another. Wren's eyes widened. "That's not the safe pattern," she hissed. Tom's jaw clenched. "It's not meant to be," he said. He shoved the lever into a rapid sequence, a stuttering pulse like a broken heartbeat. Outside, the men storming the hill froze for a split second, confused by the signal. Confused signals were deadly, because trained men reacted before they thought. Two of the attackers outside the tower turned their rifles toward the wrong shadow, thinking it was an order to clear the flank. A shot cracked. A man screamed. One of their own fell in the dust, clutching his chest. Wren stared at Tom, horrified. "Tom, you did that." Tom's voice went flat. "They did it," he said. "I just reminded them they're machines." Another attacker reached the platform. Wren fired and dropped him. Tom's eyes stayed on the lever. He forced the pattern back into a steady pulse at the last second, syncing it with the clock notch. The reset held, for now. Then the Signalmaster's voice hissed up the speaking tube, no longer smiling. "You're playing with a furnace," it said. Tom leaned into the tube. "You built it," he replied. The voice paused, then softened again, like a serpent finding a different angle. "Kill me," it said. "And you become the man who burned this town. You'll be remembered as a monster. That's what you want, Courier. A story." Wren swallowed. "He's right," she whispered. "If he dies and the protocol triggers—" Tom's face stayed hard, but his eyes flicked downward. He remembered Elias's grave on the windy rise. He remembered the weight of choosing. Tom didn't answer the Signalmaster. He did something worse. He prepared to take the man's power without taking his life. Tom grabbed the speaking tube and twisted it. The brass groaned. Wren stared. "What are you doing?" Tom kept twisting. "Taking his voice," he said. He ripped the tube from its mount. Air whooshed, and a thin squeal of feedback echoed. Down below, the signalmaster's voice vanished. The tower blinked once, steady, then fell silent. For the first time, the town below did not receive a command. And in that silence, something astonishing happened. People opened their doors, not all at once, just enough. A face behind a shutter, a hand pushing a door crack wider, a child's eyes peering out. Because the fear had always been in the light, not the dark. Wren exhaled.
"Tom," she whispered, "if he can't speak, he can't control the pattern."
Tom nodded. "And if he can't control the pattern," he said, "he can't threaten the town with his death." Boots thundered below again. More attackers were climbing. Tom's breath turned ragged. He could hold the reset lever for a while, but he couldn't hold the tower forever. Wren grabbed the broken speaking tube and swung it like a club when the next man reached the platform. Metal rang against skull. The man dropped. Tom caught another attacker by the collar and slammed him into the lens rack. Glass shattered. A shard sliced Tom's cheek. He didn't feel it. He checked the clock again. Another notch. Another required reset. The dead man switch wasn't tied to the signalmaster's heartbeat. It was tied to time. That was smarter than any hostage. Tom realized it and felt anger flare. The town wasn't obeying a man. It was obeying a schedule set to kill them. An attacker lunged at Wren with a knife. Tom shot the man in the thigh. The man fell, screaming. Wren stared at Tom, breathless. "You could have killed him." Tom's eyes stayed on the clock. "I'm saving seconds," he said. Outside, a new sound rose. Not boots. Horses. The signalmaster was sending men up the hill on horseback to surround the base and keep anyone from escaping. Tom's mind flashed through options. He couldn't kill the signalmaster because the town believed it would burn. He couldn't run because the tower needed the reset to keep the protocol from triggering. He couldn't hold forever because men kept coming. So Tom did the only thing he could. He made the system betray itself. He grabbed the lever and threw it into a new pattern, one Wren recognized by instinct. Her face went pale.
"That's the lockdown pattern," she said.
Tom nodded once. "Exactly," he replied. Down below, gates began to slam shut. Not the town gates, the system gates, the routes the attackers needed. The men on horseback found themselves trapped by their own lock points. They shouted. They pulled. They panicked. Then Tom flicked the lever again into a strobing pattern. The attackers froze, uncertain whether to advance, retreat, or clear the street. Trained men hated uncertainty more than pain. In the confusion, one of them fired. He hit a man behind him. Another man spun and fired back. Two fell. Tom watched from the tower window, face unreadable. Wren's voice broke. "You're making them kill each other." Tom didn't deny it. "They built a machine that eats people," he said. "I'm just feeding it the ones who keep turning the crank." Another attacker reached the platform. He was local, not a trained collector. A man with dirt under his nails and fear in his eyes, holding a torch. Wren swore. "He's heading for the oil shed," she said. "If he lights it, it's real. The furnace." Tom's chest tightened. This was the moment that mattered. Not the trained killers. The terrified man doing the wrong thing because he believed it was the only way to protect his family. Tom shouted down, voice raw. "Stop!" The local didn't stop. He ran. Tom's gun rose. Wren's eyes snapped to him. "Tom." Tom fired. One shot. The local dropped, torch rolling in the dust, flames sputtering out before it could catch. Silence hit the tower platform like a slap. Wren stared at Tom as if she didn't recognize him for a heartbeat. Tom's hand shook just once. Then he forced it still. He was going to burn the town, Tom said, voice tight. Wren swallowed.
He thought he was saving it,
she whispered. Tom didn't answer. Because that was the point. It was never clean. It was never heroic. It was choosing a death you could live with. Below, the town began to stir louder now, people opening doors fully, shouting at the collectors, pointing, backing them away. Without the Signalmaster's voice, the fear cracked. Wren turned to Tom, urgent. "We need the Signalmaster himself," she said. "Alive. If the town sees he bleeds like anyone else, they'll stop worshipping the light." Tom nodded once. He grabbed rope from a coil near the lens rack, looped it around a beam, and shoved it through the platform hatch. They climbed down fast, boots clanging, smoke of shattered lantern oil thick in the air. At the base, they burst out into the night wind. The street below was chaos, collectors trying to regain formation, locals shouting, some running, some throwing stones, some just standing with fists clenched like they were waking from a long sleep. In the center of it, the Signalmaster stood, still calm. He saw Tom and smiled like the outcome had been written. "You can't keep the reset forever," he called. Tom walked toward him, gun low, not raised. "That's why I'm not keeping it," Tom replied. The Signalmaster's eyes narrowed. "Then you'll burn them." Tom shook his head once. "No," he said. "You will." And with that, Tom raised his gun and shot the Signalmaster's lantern post, not the man. The lantern fell. Darkness swallowed the Signalmaster's face. For a heartbeat, the town didn't know where to look. Wren moved like a runner, fast and precise. She tackled the Signalmaster from the side, driving him into the dirt. The Signalmaster struggled, surprisingly strong, reaching for something at his belt. Tom saw it and reacted without thinking. He kicked the man's hand away and slammed his boot down on the wrist. Bone cracked. The Signalmaster screamed for the first time. That scream was the real break. People heard it and realized he wasn't a priest. He was just a man. Collectors surged to retrieve him. Tom stepped between them and the Signalmaster, gun raised now. "Back," Tom said. A collector lifted his rifle. Tom fired into the rifle stock, splintering it. The collector froze, shocked. Tom's voice turned colder. "I said back." The collectors hesitated, then withdrew a step, because for the first time the tower wasn't speaking. The pattern wasn't telling them what to do. They were suddenly just men. Wren tied the Signalmaster's hands behind him. Tom grabbed him by the collar and pulled him upright. The Signalmaster spat blood, eyes burning. "If you keep me alive," he hissed, "you still lose. They'll replace me." Tom's face stayed hard. "No," he said. "They won't." He dragged the Signalmaster toward the center street where the whole town could see, where witnesses were everything. Tom lifted the Signalmaster's chin and spoke loud enough for every doorway. "He told you his death would burn you," Tom shouted. "He told you he was your safety." Tom shoved the Signalmaster forward. "Look at him," Tom said. "He's not safety. He's a switch." The crowd surged closer, anger rising like a storm. The Signalmaster's eyes flicked from face to face, and for the first time he looked afraid. Then a distant blink answered from across the valley. Not from the tower behind town, from a far ridgeline. A single light, too far to be local. It blinked twice, then once. Wren went still. Tom felt his stomach drop. Because the pattern wasn't random. It was a response. Someone else had been watching. Someone else could speak in light. The Signalmaster's smile returned, bloody and triumphant. "You see," he whispered. "I'm not the source." Tom's jaw clenched. Wren's voice turned thin.
Central Beacon, she breathed. That's what they used to call it. A master signal nobody ever sees up close.
Tom stared into the far hills where the answering light blinked once more. Then he looked back at the town, at the crowd, at the dead in the dust, at the torch that never caught, at the man he'd shot who thought he was doing right. Tom felt the weight of the next road settle onto his shoulders like a saddle. He turned to Wren. "We leave before dawn," he said. Wren nodded, eyes locked on the distant hill.
"They'll come,"
she whispered. Tom's voice went quiet, iron hard. "Let them," he said. "This time, we follow the light back to the hand that's using it." And here's the question for you listening right now. If one man can hold a whole town hostage with a switch, what do you do when you finally discover the switch was never in his hands?